Welcome to the Choose to Change 90-Day Re-Entry Program. If you're a visitor or new to this program, we welcome you and we're glad that you are here. Many of us walked into these rooms not sure of what to expect, but many of us stayed because we saw real people with real problems who had real hope. This 90-Day Re-Entry Program is a self-supporting group sponsored by the Choose to Change Foundation. There are no dues or fees to attend a class, but we do encourage donations from our members and people who believe in what we are doing. The only requirement for membership is a sincere desire to change. So if you're ready to change your life, then you are in the right place. Through this program, you will learn the tools and resources to finally change your life forever, and a relationship-based support system to keep you going. For many of us, there is no easy way out of the mess we create in our lives, even if it wasn't our fault. But the good news is that there is a way out if you would choose to believe in the impossible. Again, welcome. My name is Frank Salazar. I've been a member for 10 years, and it's been perfect from day one. That's not true. There's been ups, there's been downs, but we keep going because I have family and I have people that look at me, so I can't fail them. And I know a lot of people here, we're the same way. We have someone watching us, but that's why we come, to learn from our mistakes. And Christmas time is coming around, so it's a time to look back and think of what we have, what we've received, and how can we give to others. So without further ado, we'll be hearing from Orlando Salinas, our CEO and mentor. Please welcome Orlando to the lectern.
Listos. So I want to talk today. Like, talk to us, talk to you. Hopefully I get some feedback. I've been going through a training. Welcome, by the way, those of you watching online. Thank you for watching us. I've been going through some training. So I'm going to become a peer specialist support, something like that. Some kind of specialist. I got my little manual here. It's called the Texas Peer Specialist Core Training Participant Manual. The state of Texas now, it's a big deal. You can look it up. They have something that what they call recovery coaches. Anybody ever heard of recovery? Life coaches. Anybody ever heard of that? A life coach. That's a big deal in the industry. You have business coaches, life coaches, all kinds of people that can help you and mentor you to better your life. You have coaches in your business. You can hire people to wherever. Basically, they're mentors. They're designed to help you better. I'm a coach. I'm a mentor here. A self-proclaimed, right? That's what a coach is. But in that industry, the idea of recovering from drug addiction, recovering from alcoholism, recovering from our past trauma. You know, we hear this word recovery or recovering. And it was, I want to talk about that this morning or tonight. What are we? Morning or night? I want to talk about that. About what is recovery when we talk about recovery. So we're going to dive into that, but I just want to I always ask people this question: is life change really possible? That's what I always ask when I'm preaching in places. I ask, is life change really possible? And then I ask, more importantly, is life change really possible for you? And that's where I usually start my revivals when I'm preaching around. What I'm asking is, can people really change? Is what I'm asking. Can someone who was a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, an alcoholic, can they really change? That's the question I'm asking. If they were a gang member or spent years in prison, and now they're 40 with no job, no skills, no money, no transportation, can they change? What would we say? Can they? Right? Yeah. So why don't they? Or why don't we? See, that's the challenge that I've been dealing with for years. I have literally hundreds of people, maybe thousands in the last 10 years have come through these doors, go through the doors of the rehab centers or come out of prison. And we're out here, we're 20, 30, 40 years old, and we're struggling, or they're struggling. Here's a better question to ask. Maybe I should start asking this. Can we recover? Because what I'm realizing as I'm going through this training, and because I'm always searching, I'm always researching, I'm always looking at things, I'm always, I've gone through some video training or online videos on YouTube about recovery and what recovery is, because I want to pinpoint, because I'm into keys. Tell me the key ingredients. Give me some steps. Give me some tangible things that I can take home, something I can understand. And I'm always looking for, wow, what is recovery? How do you change your life? Where do you go? I mean, what are we doing here? And one other thing, those of you that have been here, all of you have been coming here for a while, I teach the 7 major keys to life change: desire, mindset, faith. And the reason I came up with them is because no matter where I research, these things keep coming up. It's the same key ingredients. And what I've learned here, and just going through this training, I went through the first 3 days of 8 hours a day, which was that 24-hour of training in 3 days. Next week I'm going to do another five days of 8 hours a day. So it's pretty intensive training. And I'm listening to these people and I'm trying to grasp where they're coming from. And it all boils down to how you see life, how you see God, and how you see yourself. How you see life, how you see God, and how you see yourself. It all depends on what lens you look through. And what lens do we look through when we look at life? When you look at the mirror? When you look at the people around you, your world around you, what do you see? And what we see depends on what we've been through. And that's what they call trauma. Y'all get that? What you've been through. The abuse, the pain, your upbringing, the alcoholic parents, the no parent. That's what we recover from. So I read this. Listen to this. I looked up the word recovery. What does recovery mean? It says this. Recovery is a return to a normal state of health, mind, and strength. Recovery is a return to a state of health, mind, and strength. So I asked myself, and this is how we think, I think. Tell me if I'm right or wrong here. Well, what is normal health? What is a normal state of mind? What is normal strength? What is it? Y pues si no sabes, pues so as Christians, we define that. And by the way, one of the things before I move on, as Christians, we have answers. We have the answer. We have hope. I want you to know that our faith and what we believe in. You know, when somebody asks you, why do you believe that? I'm reading all this, going through all this training, and it all boils down to what you believe. That's what it boils down to. What you're going to choose to believe. And I'll get more into that here in a minute. But recovery is returning to something, in other words, going back to what was better. Well, let me read the second definition. It says it's the action. What caught my attention there is that there's some things that we have to do. Recovery involves action, which is why we come to choose a change, which is why we come to church, why we go to a therapist, or why we go through. There's action involved in recovery, and whatever you're recovering from or changing from, I like to think of it, from you changing from being the person you were before to who you want to be or who you should be. The actions or process of regaining possession or control of something stolen or lost. Regaining possession of something stolen or lost. Recovery. So I want to talk about recovery this evening. I looked up something else. I was researching. So I researched, do we recover from prison? Do people really recover from the trauma of prison? Here's what it said. Yes. That's the good news. That's what it starts with. Yes. He says many people do recover from the trauma of spending time in prison, though the process can be challenging and complex. Who can agree to that? The challenge of dealing with the aftermath of the mess that we created. Well, let me continue reading it. The prison experience often leaves individuals with emotional, psychological, and social scars. But with the right support and strategies, recovery is possible. Here's an overview of the recovery process and the factors that can influence it. So that's what I want to just kind of go over with you today. This recovery process, the factors that go into it. And what I'm telling you is that I'm researching more and more. And where's my, see if I can, I don't have a, here it is. What is the third mindset? I tell you guys that mindset is the key ingredient to life change. And everything about this that I'm going to read is all about how you see things, what you believe, who you believe. It's amazing. Because really, I think the other day I was talking here and I asked, we are all recovering from something, from our past. We come from somewhere. You know, the other day I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about the family unit, the Christian radio station, and they said something that's we know, because I mean, like, what's a normal family? Today, the normal family is a abnormal family. ¿Verdad? Two divorced people married. That's normal now. Most people go through that. And so that creates trauma in life, in kids. Creates problems. We're all dealing with something, right? No más que when we add alcohol and drugs to it, we really get twisted. She keeps checking her head. Because I know you add drugs and alcohol to the problems we already have, and man, we really get twisted. We get jaded. And that's where God's so important. Because man, it's not easy. Let me read this again. Do people recover from prison? Since that's what we're dealing here, mostly in here, we're going to deal with that. He says, yes, people do recover from the trauma of spending time in prison, though the process can be challenging and complex. Why do you think it's challenging and complex? Has it been challenging and complex, brother? Just changing your life. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about changing your life. I tell people it's not going to be easy. It's hard. It's the most difficult thing you'll ever do. Why? Because I don't have the word something, and I still maybe not even share it or articulate what I want to say the right way, because I have a hard time doing that. But the reality is that life change is hard. And the reason it's hard is because there's so many things going on in us. Some emotions and these thoughts and the pain and the regret. Listen to this. They say, the prison experience often leaves individuals with emotional and psychological and social scars. But with the right support, church, strategies, the books you read, Come to Choose a Change, recovery is possible. Here's a few. Understanding the impact of prison trauma. They say emotional and psychological effects. Incarceration often involve isolation. This aquí is probably fraud. Let me turn that off. I remember anybody ever been in the hole in prison? In El Pozo? You remember that feeling? It's not a good feeling. Sorry. Imagine I don't know. It's hard for me to comprehend these words because I started thinking about my life, about how what I had to go through in my mind emotionally. I mean, if you've been in prison, you know that you have to psych yourself out. I mean, you like literally have to psych yourself out. So some people say, man, how do they do that? You know, I've been in years in prison. And if you've never been in prison, that's like, man, how do you do that? Well, we don't even know. Right? I mean, we just, it's like we turn something off inside. I don't know what it is. It's like, I'll never forget. I was 17 years old, and well, I did forget. I have to really think. What was I thinking? They tell me I'm going to prison for 20 years. I'm just 17 years old. I mean, that's traumatic. It just did something to my mind. Listen to this. Let me see if I can find it. He says, when something like this happen, Our mind goes into either flight or what is it? Fight or flight. Flight or fight. In other words, either you're going to run or you're going to fight. And in prison, you can't run. And I'm trying to remember that feeling of knowing that, man, I can die in here. It's crazy. I mean, we think about it now, right, guys? We think about it now, and it's like, but it was just another day in prison. But that's traumatic. That's what they're talking about. This traumatic. Something happened to us. We got twisted. But what I found out is that people that haven't been in prison have their own trauma, their own issues, like the ones we caused, with to our parents, to our wives. So you have two kind of traumatizing experiences. The ones that were caused or the ones that were done to you, right? By someone. The abuse, the lies, the cheating, the literal abuse, the sexual abuse, the whatever, right? You got that. The way you were spoken to, the way you were treated. You got that abuse. And because I didn't go through that, I was the abuser, meaning I'm the one that hurt people. I'm the one that cheated. I'm the one that lied. I'm the one that stole. And so then for me, when I got to a point where I couldn't do nothing about it, it's traumatic. It's like, that's where you hear me talk a lot about my testimony about how I wanted to just kill myself because I couldn't handle it. So that's the kind of stuff that they call trauma. These things we have to deal, and it's in the mind. So the question of the evening as we continue in the next few minutes is, do we recover? Can we recover? I say yes. So part of the process of recovering, it says, and this is, by the way, this is not a spiritual guide. It's what do you call it? That is from the world? Secular. It's a secular advice. It says like this: you need to start assessing your mental health support. This is therapy or counseling, which is what we do here. Especially traumatic informed approaches like cognitive processing therapy. Anybody heard that one before? That's what I said. The world's that. Cognitive processing therapy, CPT. Or EMDR can help individuals process their experiences and rebuild self-worth. I'm reading this stuff and I'm thinking like, man, you have to be educated to recover? Like, what in the world does this mean? Cognitive. Can anybody tell me what cognitive mean? Do you know what cognitive? Can you define it? What does cognitive mean?
Does it have to do anything with the mind?
It's what?
The mind, like cognitive, where you're thinking.
So then, so how you process things?
Because like cognitive, because metacognition is checking your own learning and checking how you process things. So yes.
How you process things, right? So that's what therapy is. Learning how to process things. In other words, What we went through is not going to go away. The things we felt are not going to go away. They'll fade a little bit. The mistakes we made, the pain we caused, or the pain that was caused. I know what I've noticed is that when I'm working with men, I'm talking to a man, and I'm talking to him, and what I'm realizing is that there's a lot of things that he has a lot of regret. He has a lot of pain. He has a lot of regret and pain is the best way I can explain it. And because of that, we can't move on. One of the things that I had a hard time moving forward with was regret. And regret for the things I did, right? The things I caused, the pain I caused. Regret. And when we're young, many times we're making mistakes in lives and we don't realize how, as an adult, we look at our young kids or just kids in general. I'm going to a high school where I go pray for some kids every Monday to an alternative school. And I'm looking at these kids and they're oblivious to life. They have no idea what they're what's about to happen to them as they grow up. And we say, wow, we need to go talk to the youth. And anybody ever tried talking to youth? You can't. Because they're in their own world. Until the world hits them, right? You wake up one day in prison or in rehab and you're like, what in the world happened? So we have to start thinking. We have to start making decisions. That's cognitive. We have to learn how to deal with things in life. Here's another one. Reintegrating into society. Chavarria, do you have trouble reintegrating into society? Reentry programs that provide housing, employment assistance, and life skills training are crucial for helping individuals rebuild stability. And this is what this class is. It is a life skills training to help you build stability. So in here, I teach about how we need to have faith, change our mindset, deal with our attitudes and our habits, because those are the key ingredients to building a life. Attitude, habits, lifestyle. So I'm going through a list of things that we need to recover. That's what I'm going through, because I know I'm kind of go all over the place here. But I'm going through a list of things that they teach. This world teaches, psychologists teaches, recovery coaches teach, therapists teach. This is what they teach. So we need to learn how to adjust to life. And we need to learn how to process things that happen to us. That's how you recover. Is that making any sense to anybody? Recovery. Here's a good one. Developing coping skills. Developing coping skills. Let me again. What I'm explaining, guys, is what a recovery process looks like. and that we're in it. I guess I started thinking about this because I keep thinking why people struggle so much and fail. Why they go back to prison, why they go back to drugs, why they go back to or leave church, or why do they go back? And I believe it's because we come to church, or we come to choose a change, or we come to a recovery program, and we don't see what we think we're supposed to see. I'm not sure what we're looking for. Let me give you an example. When I first went to recovery or to a rehab center, because when it comes to drugs and alcohol, all we have at our as a solution when we think of drugs and alcohol, what do we think of? How do we help people? Rehab. That's all we think of. Therapy, rehab, because that's all there is, right? That's the solutions. As Christians, we believe, come to God, give your life to Jesus. But in general, in this world that we live in, you think about rehab. And so that most people have no idea what rehab is. I know I didn't. And now I know a lot about it. But when I went to rehab, I thought, okay, finally I'm going to get fixed. Somebody's going to fix me. Something's wrong with me, so somebody's going to fix me. So I literally thought, brother, this in my mind. So I'm going to go to the rehab. I thought hospital. Como un hospital. That's what I thought in my mind. So me van a poner la bata, was open in the back. I'm going to check my pulse. They're going to do all my, check me and tell me, take this medication and you'll be okay. You can go home. I thought that's what I thought. And then I go to rehab and I realize it's not that. And I start going to classes like this. And they start telling me that my problem is my mind and the way I think, and I need to learn the process. And they start teaching me things and I'm like, what? It wasn't what I expected. I don't know what I expected. And that's what I think that a lot of people coming out of prison, we're coming to church, we're coming to choose a change. And I don't know what you're expecting. What I'm telling you is that it's just a process of learning. So let me close with what I had to do to change my life, to recover, to go from where I came from to where I'm at today. I thought I'd give you what I did and what I continue to do. So and many of you are already doing it. And all we have to do is keep on doing it. It's not changing your life, and recovery is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's not something that you do and it's done. It's something that you continue doing and grow and mature. And that's how it works. I'm still learning how to process things in my life. It's part of the journey. Like now I'm getting older. Now I have to process that I'm getting old. I'm serious. I have to process this idea that, man, I'm going to die. In 20 years, I'm not going to be who I was today. 20 years, I'm going to be 81 years old. So 20 years for me are very different than 20 years for you. Can you see that? So we're always learning and growing. We're always having to process things in life. And the better you learn to process things in life, the better life you'll have. That's it. That's the therapy I'm giving you. And the reason why it's so important to learn how to process is because there's a lot of rules and regulations involved in life in general. Life has rules. Life has regulations. It's just how it is. I love one of my first mentors, Jim Rome. He says the first thing you need to do is just figure out how things work. Figure out how things work. How does life work? What makes life work well? And if life isn't working well for you, what will you change? Think about what I just said, because I listened to that and I said, wow, that makes sense. How do you change your life? Well, figure out how things work. Well, how do things work? This is what the process is all about. I figured it out. How does it work? He said, once you figure it out, start working on it and start rebuilding your life. Recovery. And I learned all this by accident, by the way. I just did it. And that's why, if you look at my process here, it starts with wanting it, desire, and the next thing is faith. Because in order for you to finally recover, you're going to have to believe in something first. So I want to give you 3 things that I did and still do that took me from being 13 years in prison, 10 years of drug addiction, wanting to kill myself at the age of 34, going back to prison, to where I'm at today, business owner, entrepreneur, mentor, evangelist, husband, father, leader, grandfather. How many do we have, babe? 6? We got 5? We have 7. Man. A lot of grandkids. So I want to give you 3 things that I did. I started doing 34 years ago. 27 years ago. 28, ya me dijeron. 28 years. The first thing I did, brother, is I surrendered. I surrendered to God. I surrendered. I give up. You've ever been locked up? Arrested? You surrender. Ya cuando se ponen las esposas, it's done. So that's what I did. Let God do for me. I said, God, here you go. That's really what we're doing when we turn to God, when we give our lives to Christ. See, the reason why so many people struggle out there is because they don't want to surrender. They don't want to give up. They think there's an easier, softer way. There's a better way. No, you have to surrender. Or like le digo, a lot of times in prison, like sharing this, we have to bow down. Because we're all going to bow. We are all going to bow to something. Whether it be drugs, you're going to bow to drugs, to alcohol, to gangs, to a judge, to a probation officer. To hatred, we're gonna bow. We're gonna give ourselves to it for whatever reason. But we will bow. So when I figured that out, I said, you know what? I'm gonna bow my knee to Jesus Christ. I'm gonna give my life to someone that might be able to help me better than anyone else. I didn't want to trust anybody else. I didn't want to trust the system. I didn't want to trust the doctor. I didn't want to trust the psychiatrist. I didn't want to trust the judge. I didn't want to trust just anybody. I said, I'm going to trust God. That's what I did. I surrendered. I gave my life to Jesus Christ 28 years ago. Just gave my life. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I didn't know if I could even going to be able to change. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. I just believed. That's why we talk a lot about here, believing in the impossible. Because that's what I had to do. I had to just believe. Back to the questions that I asked at the beginning. Is it really possible? And if you, I know you don't remember, but here's what I said. Can someone who's a liar and a cheater and a manipulator and alcoholic really change? If he's a gang member, spent years in prison, 40 years old with no job, no skills, no money, no transportation, can they really change? I walked out of prison at 40. And it's been a process ever since. So I surrendered. That's the first thing I did. What that meant was that I started going to church. I started reading the Bible. I started looking for answers. Surrender to God. I surrendered to God, to His will, to righteousness, to doing what's right. So the second thing I did is I committed. I committed my life to doing something different. In prison, we're weird in prison. You know, it's real racially segregated. Black folks over there, the Mexican folks over there, the white folks over there, and everybody else over there. It's separated, right? And so then in prison, if you want to survive, you want to kind of make it, you go and you hang around with your own people, your Spanish people, or if you're black with the black folks, you're white with the white folks. And so then, and if you think you're bad in prison, we think we're bad, right? We think we do push-ups, and we're not going to let nobody mess with us. And so then, because I used to be like that when I was first in prison, put tattoos all over my body, and I thought I was this vato loco forever, and so I didn't want to be that guy no more. So here's what I did, Chavaria. I literally did this. And you and Hugo, and you've been in prison, right? You might understand this. People that never been in prison may not, but here's what I did. I went and looked for and forgive me if you're white and you're watching this. I'm not prejudiced. I'm just saying this. I went and found the dorkiest looking white boy. Glasses. Stunner. And I went and befriend him. I said, you know what? I'm going to become his friend. I don't want to become the friend with these guys. I know. I want to become friend with this guy. I don't want nobody to think that I'm anybody or anybody. I'm nobody. I'm a nobody. And that's what I did. I humbled myself. And when later I found out that guy said, why did you come friend me? I thought you just wanted to hurt me or something. But I committed to doing something different. I committed to helping, to being nice, to being different. I don't want to fight. I don't want to cuss. I don't want to do wrong. I don't want to. I want to do right. I know what to do. Most of us know what to do. You know what to do. It's not rocket science. I tell people all the time, you know what to do. Just do the next right thing. That's what I started doing. I committed to that. So I surrendered, then I committed. And then the third thing I did, and I kind of did all these at the same time, is I became a seeker. And what I mean by that, I became a lifelong learner. And I found out that that's the key to real change, real success, lifelong learner. Jesus said, seek and what? You'll find. Knock and the door will be open. Ask and you shall receive. That's how you grow. That's how you change. That's how you recover. Become a seeker. Because you learn, you start building upon these knowledge and wisdom. The Bible teaches us when I start mentoring people, when I start get them into the 90-day challenge, the first thing I ask people to read is Proverbs. Do you know why? It's full of wisdom. It's full of knowledge. And you start learning. And you start making sense of yourself, the world, God, and the world around you. You start reshaping how you see things. Because if you remember, you might not remember, but what I said at the beginning is change and recovery all boils down to how you see things. And becoming a seeker of wisdom and knowledge is what helped me get where I'm at today, what helped me build my business, what helped me continually doing what I do here. And I'm still learning and seeking. I'm growing. Because that's how life works. That's how life change works. That's how recovery works. Does anybody have anything to say here? I said I was going to talk to you guys and I didn't. I just went off. Pass around the donation bucket too.
Um, Everything you said, right? It really makes sense. And for me, I had to, like you said, we had to psych ourselves out. Like when I was in prison, I had to psych myself out. But now I had to psych myself out in the right way,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
But instead, and like I've been told too, instead of thinking doing the first thing that comes to your mind, do the second thing, so that way you have it processing in the right way, and pues you're not just saying it out of impulse, because most of the time we do something out of impulse is
We do things out of impulse.
doing wrong, right? And it's a process that is gonna take a lifetime commitment, where for me, and for people that already have a better I would say like a better life, you could say they do better choices,
Yep.
But now for me, I'm really just psyching myself out to do something good for myself and for my family, and to break that curse from back then, but more than anything.
So then I always see when I started learning, I started thinking about this. And this is us with a big old smile in our face. And we're trying to change our lives, right? But here's something to think about. For you young guys, think about this for a minute. Because when we're young, we don't realize we're doing this. And when we're older, we don't understand that's what's happening. So we're trying to change our lives. This is us. This is my monito. And I was thinking about this as I've been learning and growing. And what happens is that throughout the process of life, as you grow up, since you're 15, 16, 17, 20, whatever it is, and things happen in your life. Let's say abuse. What else things happen to us? Huh? What's that? Rejection. Wow. What else happens to us in life? Addiction. ¿Cómo? Shun. Rejection. That's rejection. Betrayal. betrayed, betrayal. I don't know how to spell that. Alcohol, alcohol. You start drinking. Mistakes, or lying. I don't know how to spell lying. Guilt. ¿Cómo? Okay, bad friends. Okay, friends, bad friends. Prison. But where are those mental issues coming from? All of this. See, this is what we're trying to recover from. And we're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to reevaluate how we see things. Trying to get rid of alcohol and addictions. Trying to learn how to battle the rejection, whether it's real or not. Right? Because many people battle stuff that's not real. It's just not real. It seems real. It feels real. It's real to you, but it's in the mind. And so this is what we're trying to get rid of. We're trying, but how do you get rid of it? Surrender. There's your answer. Take your pill of surrender, of forgiveness. Brother, it's that simple. It's not easy, but it's that simple. I found that out. And I think that I believe that it was easier for me to forgive because I was the one that hurt. And when I surrendered, when I personally surrendered, I'm just giving you my experience. When I surrendered, what I did is, and this is why I'm so easy to get along with. That's why I don't get mad very often. I just get mad to my wife. Get madder at my wife than anybody else. I'm easygoing. I really am. I'm too easy sometimes, I think. Because I let people, if you hurt me, you hurt me. You steal from me, no pedo, that's fine. You know, it doesn't bother me. Because I've learned that forgiveness is the key. Now, I mean, do I get mad once in a while? Yeah. But my point is, I decided a long time ago, it's not worth it. Especially when I read a scripture in the Bible. Listen to what it said. He says, vengeance is mine, the Lord said. I will repay. When I found out that God will take care of it, I said, you take care of it, God. I think he can do better than I can. I'm serious. That's how I looked at it. In fact, there was another scripture that said, it's better for a rock were tied around a man's neck and cast into the sea if he offends one of these little ones that believes in me. So God will forgive me. I decided, listen, remember, recovery is learning to cope, learning to deal with the things that you have in your mind, learning to decide how you're going to see it. And when you see it through the ends of forgiveness, when you forgive the rejection, when you forgive the abuse, when you forgive the addiction, when you forgive the betrayals, the lying, the cheating, when you forgive, it just all falls. Well, I know it's very hard to forgive. I know, because it's a big, big subject. It's a hard subject. I've learned that as a preacher, as a minister, In church, I mean, it's just really, really hard because there's some hard stuff that people go through. I understand. All I was trying to show you here is that these things are what we have to get rid of if we want to go back to that normal. Achia, sí. A lo mejor va a quedar mucho, pero sometimes we feel that way. Sometimes we feel that way. Yeah. There's things in life that we're just, we're never going to change. And I'll leave you with this thought. The season that we're in right now is Christmas. My favorite season. I love listening to Christmas music, and now I have my grandkids and I see them. I say, wow, it's awesome. I just never learned. I've learned to appreciate just life. I've learned to appreciate because I have a lot. I don't even know why. I just have so much, and I don't know why. But I believe it's because I surrendered. Not because I didn't make mistakes. That's another subject for another day. But I surrendered. And God, for some reason or another, chose to bless my life in ways that it's just how it is. And so that's why I give myself to this stuff. Because trying to help you or anybody who wants help is, for me, that's the greatest reward. Watching people succeed in life, better in life. It's awesome. It's incredible. So does anybody want to say anything? So today, what is today? 12. Man, next week. We're going to have a special speaker next week. And then Christmas is coming around. And then the New Year's is coming around. I want you to think about what we're going to do next year. Different. Maybe we'll do a goal setting for next year. But recovery is possible. Amen? That's all we have then. Thank you for watching.